Hello to all you vetting agents or anyone out there trying to vet phone numbers and validate that somebody gave you a phone number and you want to make sure that they actually control it. Okay. So, this is how the vetting process works with the caller ID vouching and vetting protocol. I'm going to try to explain it quickly for you in this video. Okay. So, how in the world does Bob trust? Sorry, Bob is going to tell Alice, hey, I own a phone number. And Alice wants to trust that Bob really owns that number. So, how would two human beings do it? Well, Alice might say, okay, well, prove it. Let's prove you own this number. I'm going to hang up the phone. And when I call you back, I want you to say the word elephant. Okay. So now they both hang up and Alice calls the number back. Bob checks the phone and Bob says the word elephant. And now Alice says, okay, because Alice can probably trust the routing through the PSTN to get back to Bob. So Alice could say, okay, I believe you. You control this particular phone number. And this is probably how vetting works today, right? Vetting, really, you call a number and you listen to the message and you make sure that it's really the person or the client or the company or the enterprise that claimed ownership of that number. So how do we automate this with a protocol? Well, we have this CIDVV platform on both ends. We have a PSTN in between. Okay. Bob tells Alice, I own this number. It's mine. I'm responsible for it. And Alice says, okay, let's validate this. Let's verify it. I'm going to vet you from my number and we're going to use the shared key of elephant. So now Alice and Bob put this information into their CIDVV platform. And now we do step 1 of 3. Okay. Alice's platform makes a wake call to wake up Bob's CIDVV platform. Okay. So Alice's platform calls Bob with Alice's caller ID, but puts a +101 in front. Okay. That way Bob's SBC knows to send anything with a +101 in front. It's going to send it up to Bob's CIDVV platform. Okay. Bob's CIDVV platform says it strips the 101 in front and says, aha, that's Alice's phone number. So Bob now creates a recognized token, which is essentially just a hash of Alice's number plus Bob's number plus the shared key of elephant. Okay, we're going to strip it down to 10 digits, put a 1 in front, store that temporarily for maybe 10 seconds or so, and we're going to reject that call with a 603. 603 gets back, it makes its way across the PSTN, and a 603 survives as a rejection. Okay, it may come across as a 403, but either way, if it has to bounce between ISDN and SIP, it survives as a rejection back to Alice's platform. So Alice's CIDVV platform receives a rejection and says, well, that's good. I received a 603 as expected. That is considered a successful wake call. All right. Immediately, Alice now computes this same token. Okay. So Alice and Bob, using the same algorithm with that shared key of elephant, computes the same token, which is 10 digits plus a 1 in front. And now Alice's CIDVV platform makes a call back to Bob using that as the caller ID. Okay. So that call makes its way across. Anything with a +101 goes up to Bob's CIDVV platform, and Bob's CIDVV platform strips the +101 and says, aha, I recognize that token because I just stored it a second or two ago. So Bob's CIDVV platform trusts that Alice knows the shared key of elephant and now rejects the call with a 486. 486 indicating I trust that you know the shared key. Okay, that 486 survives across the PSTN as a user busy, right? If it has to bounce between ISDN and SIP, it survives as a busy, which is distinct from reject. So now Alice's CIDVV platform says, okay, I received that 486 as expected. That is now a successful recognize. So Bob knows that Alice knows the key. Okay. But we need to do one more step, and that is a third step, which is auth. So now Alice computes the another token called an auth token, which is a slightly different derivation. It's simply the shared key plus Bob's number plus Alice. So it's just slightly different order. And Alice's platform stores that in memory temporarily. Bob computes the same thing, computes the same token with the same algorithm, and initiates an auth call with that as Bob's caller ID. That makes its way across the PSTN to Alice's CIDVV platform. Alice's platform says, I recognize that as the auth token. Okay, all of this takes place just in a blink of an eye. It comes back to Alice's platform, and Alice says, I trust now that Bob knows the shared key as well. So 3 steps. The third call comes from Bob to Alice, and Alice now knows that Bob knows that shared key. Okay, Alice rejects it with a 486. Bob's CIDVV platform receives that 486 and knows that a mutual vet was successful. So both parties trust that each party knows the key and that each party has acknowledged a mutual vet. And the only way for this three-step call to take this 603 486 46, the only way for this to be successful in this order is for both parties to know that shared key. So now Alice's CIDVV platform can report to Alice, sure enough, Bob controls that number, right? The only way that worked was for Bob's platform to know the shared key of elephant. And now Bob says, wait a minute, I also own 10,000 more numbers, right? This is the challenge with vetting today, is there's no automatic way to trust that Bob's list of phone numbers is accurate. Bob may not even be accurate, right? It may not be malice. Bob just may have mistakes in his programming or records. And so when Bob says, I got a list of 10,000 numbers, Alice's CIDVV platform says, no problem, let's go. Because all of this three-step process is very quick and it's completely automated and there's no media setup the entire time. So it's super fast. So Alice's platform says, let's go. Let's vet all those numbers. And that is how the vetting process works in the caller ID vouching and vetting protocol.